Hello everybody, welcome to the Gameweek25 Deadline stream, and it's live. My name's James, and over the next 55 minutes or so I will try and answer as many of your FPL dilemmas as possible ahead of the 6:30 PM UK time blank double Gameweek 25 deadline. Before I get into the questions, may I ask all our listeners to smash a like and hit the sub button. I don't normally do that till nearer the end, or until someone says in the chat, smash a fucking like, people, don't be lazy. Right, let me take you through the graphics on stream first before I go through the questions. Top right hand corner of the screen, you will see my team for the game week as stands. Don't think anything can change that over the next hour. -4 taken, Alexander-Arnold, Salah and Nunez in for Aki, Kevin De Bruyne and Harry Kane. Captain Bukayo Saka, I've never really wavered on, to be totally honest. I line up this week with Ward, Trent, White, Bueno, Saka, Salah, Odegaard, Andreas Pereira, Nonso, Haaland, Darwin Núñez. Below that, you'll see my order of captaincy in order of preference. Top 10, it's probably top 3 for most. I've seen a few Nketiah and Nunez differential ideas out there. 1 or 2 Trents as well, I think. But Saka, Odegaard, Salah is the preferred order for me. The reason I've vice-captained Salah rather than Odegaard is if my captain doesn't turn up, my vice-captain's not as good. As in, Odegaard without Saka is a little bit concerning if that's how it landed. So just on the rare off chance that Saka got an injury in training today, if that was the case, I'd rather be on Salah than Odegaard. But if it was a choice right now between Odegaard and Salah, I personally actually would go for Odegaard, personally. I think Arsenal have got better offensive fixtures than Liverpool. That's my opinion. To the left of me on screen, you'll see my correct score predictions for the all 10 games taking place in Game Week 25, including the 2 midweek fixtures at the bottom of the screen. The one that will surprise probably is Chelsea to win at Tottenham. I've explained my reasoning for that on many shows over the last 2 or 3 weeks, actually. Right at the bottom of the screen, you'll see the ticker for all 20 teams for the next 5 game weeks. That takes us now up to double game week 29. Fixtures in blue represent double game weeks. And above that, you will see the benching dilemmas, which I suppose most of you won't need this week, but perhaps some of you on a free hit might. I'll take you through them very briefly. The player with a tick out of the 2 players chosen together is the preferred option. So I would start Bueno over Nonso, Nonso over Somerville, Somerville over Emerson, Emerson over Pereira, Pereira over Lewis, Lewis over Perisic, Perisic over Solanke, Solanke over Bailey, Bailey over Ream, Ream over Mings, Mings over Voba, Voba over Gay, Gay over Williams, Williams over Patterson, Patterson over Greenwood, Greenwood over Amati. I suppose the main one this week will be those of you who might have goalkeeper dilemmas for those who perhaps have a single game week. Edison over Kepa, Kepa over Leno, Leno over Meslier, Meslier over Danny Ward. Those 5 pages will continue to rotate during the course of the stream. Players on page 1 are preferred over page 2, over page 3, and so on. Right, let's get into the questions. Who's going to be first today? JP says, pros and cons of captain Odegaard over Salah. I think Arsenal score more than Liverpool. No Saka. Yeah, I'd do it. That's exactly what I've just said. I would do it. It's probably easier. What I would say is probably easier for me to say, yeah, I'd do it when I have Saka, so I don't actually have to have that debate. But I think if I was in that position, yeah, genuinely, I'd go with Odegaard. I really would go with him. Salah's scored, in the last 2? But they're both down to goalkeeper errors. Yes, lovely assist at Newcastle, admittedly. So he has returned in his last 3 games, it's worth saying. I also think there's greater risk of rotation for Mo Salah than Odegaard or Saka this week. So yeah, I would go Odegaard. Mike says, hi James, Cucurella to Trent or Tarkowski for a -4. And if Trent, would you do Bueno to Tarkowski for an additional -4? No, I'll just go Trent, mate. I'm trying to imagine why he would pick Tarkowski over Trent. Everton's second game's Arsenal away. Well, no, Liverpool look shit defensively, but dear. Put yourself in a position to be lucky would be my take. Sion Fulk says, Shaw for Robertson -4 and keep Kane. Or do I go Kane and Patterson out for Trent and Darwin -8 and keep Shaw? Look, so many of these questions are really difficult to answer in the sense I don't know what plan strategy is. Now, to be fair, most of you probably won't know exactly what you're doing strategy because I don't at the moment. But when I answer these, maybe you already do think that you know. So I'm trying to think who will be more useful for you in coming weeks, Shaw or Kane. And I've got to say it's probably Shaw with the double in 29 and the fact that you're unlikely to captain Harry and it puts a lot more money in the bank. So I would probably go to -8 route. JP says Iheanacho punt next week versus Southampton. Good shout. Yeah, reasonable. And it will look even better if Leicester lose to Blackburn in the Cup. That's obviously not likely. Cog says, hi James, KDB to Mo is done. Now Kane to Darwin to fund Aki and Kepa out. For which of these pairs from -8? Trent and Ramsdale or Arsenal defender and Alisson? Or Trent and Pickford? Again, it's a little bit dependent on where you're going. So if you think that you're going to free hit in 28, I would go for the TAA and Pickford option. Otherwise, I'd go for the Arsenal option, and I would prefer that you went for a defender rather than Ramsdale. JP says, what is your current free hit strategy if Fulham winning the cup game? My current free hit strategy at the moment, and it's subject to other cup results as well, but I think we can all agree that Fulham Leeds is probably likely to be definitive. It would be later in the season, and it would be most likely game week 32. Could be 34 subject to other cup results, but if every cup result went as planned this week, I think I would end up on free hit game week 32. Jay Parker says Salah in for KDB from -4. Keep up the fantastic work. Boing, boing. Obviously a baggy fan. Yes, I've made that move, so obviously yes. My Toast says, hi James, good luck for the game week, mate. And to you too. My Toast. Holostammer says, hello, I know you did some same moves, but with news that Laporte is still out and Klopp talking about rotation, would you do Aki and Kane to Darwin and TAA for -8? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've admittedly, I've done it, and one's a free transfer and one's a hit. I've taken a -4, but I think I very nearly deliberated Pickford as well, right? So, yeah, I think I would do it, mate. Berticus says, hello, mate. Gutted that I'm now priced out the Shaw to Trent move. Is it worth it to instead go from Shaw to Robertson for a -4 to get 11 players out? Yeah, I think so. Look, it's most probable that he starts twice. You should get that back just on appearance points. Obviously, it'd be helpful if they don't concede 5 goals, but that doesn't often happen in the Premier League. So, at minimum, on appearance points, you should get your return on investment back out of that. I'd just be conscious, as per a lot of the advice I've given on Ask James this morning and other bits of content I've done this week, particularly Clash of Correspondence yesterday, there is a danger that any Liverpool player you buy, particularly if Leeds win on Tuesday, you may be stuck with for a significant period of time. And you should be aware of that. And so if I said to you, right, Robertson's got to be there for the next 2 months, and that might sound ridiculous, but trust me, it could be, the way it works out if Leeds win on the weekend, then how do you feel about that? Are you ever going to have the luxury around these other doubles and blanks, knowing that Liverpool would cover you in 28, 29 and 32? Will you ever have the luxury to change that to someone else? That's all. And I think we should all consider that if we're buying any Liverpool player. One of the reasons I've gone with a free I think that's the most powerful free if I end up getting stuck with them. That's my take. Ryan Walker says, afternoon James, you preferring free hit 28 or 29 at the moment? Leeds versus Fulham FA Cup is massive, really. It's possibly neither. As I said, it could well be 32 for me. Andrew Howard says, hi James, I've already taken -4 to get free Liverpool in. What I would certainly say is, Ryan, I'll come on to your question, Andrew, sorry, just to add, Ryan, though, if Leeds were to beat Fulham, there's absolutely no chance I would free hit in 28. I'd have 3 Liverpool, 3 Arsenal, 2 Newcastle. And I'd have Andreas Pereira as well. I'd already be on 9. And I'd have a strong 8. So if Leeds win, there's no way I would free hit in game week 28. Andrew Howard says, hi James, already taken a -4 to get 3 Liverpool win. I would need to take a -12 to change out Martinelli to Saka. Is it worth it? So effective -8 for you. If it was just a -4, I'd say yeah, a little bit like my theory was on 23. I think these are the sort of moves, in fairness, and it's easy to be hindsighty, but it's the move that I made in 23 was to get the better Arsenal players in for their 2 double game weeks within 3 weeks. For a -8 at this stage now, probably not. it's if you would intend to captain Saka as well, it's borderline yes. But if you're setting your mind and you're going to captain Salah, for example, then it's a no. Johnny J says, hi James, would you get Gakpo and Watkins or Darwin and an Everton or Wolves midfielder? Both positions are probably price placeholders for Brentford and Brighton options. Going for an Everton or Wolves. I think if I had to do that, I'd go for Ruben Neves, by the way. I think if I had to. He's likely to be on the pens. It's probably your most likely source of something. I'm not keen on it, though. I've got to be really, really honest. Not that I'm that keen on going Gakpo at the moment either. Again, because I think it's one when you're going to have the luxury to move that, and the threats are clearly coming from Jota, Firmino, and it's going to come soon from Diaz as well. Yeah, if it's the placeholder and you know you're going to Brentford, maybe even go to Brentford as early as 26, then yeah, Ruben Neves would be the one for me. But yeah, I'd go to Nunes route. Neil Thompson says, evening, would you do Kane to Nunes for -4? Effectively done it. Also got a bit lost with all of the strategies today. If you did wildcard in 26, when would you be looking at free hit? Thanks for the great content. You've already heard, Neil, but thank you for the question, my friend. FPL Invincible says, hi James, I'm on -4 already and thinking about 1 or 2 more hits. -8 hit for sure to Trent, or -12 hit White, Tony to Trent and Catcher. Any thoughts? Yeah, look, I wouldn't bother shoving around that White and Catcher personally. And Catcher's going to become a problem for you quite soon as well, right? Jesus is close. So I wouldn't bother with that personally. So the -8. Pranya says Shaw and Mitrovic 2. A. Tarkovsky and Watkins. B. Tarkovsky and Felix. C. Trent and Greenwood. I mean, do you need Greenwood to play this week? D. Robertson and Nonto. Which one would you do? These would be from -8, as I already used 2 free transfers to get Salah and Darwin. So you haven't got 3 Liverpool. Trent, but on the condition that you don't need Greenwood to play for you this week, in which case I'd go Robertson and Nonto. Stefan B says, hi James, do you think Edison to Pickford for a hit is worth it when chip strategies are uncertain? This is what I've been wrestling with myself a lot this week, is do I want to be looking at Danny Ward in goal against Arsenal? No. I mean, I'd love it if he hauled. I really, really would, even if all the Arsenal players blanked. That's for personal reasons as much as my FPL team. But the thing is, I've backed Everton for a 1-1 and then a 2-0 defeat at Arsenal. So I'm not actually believing that Pickford will outscore Ward enough for that hit to be worth it. Now, of course, the bonus is Pickford will definitely play in 28. But if I wait a bit, I might be able to get a better goalkeeper. And imagine if Leicester or Manchester United did end up playing in 28. And I've already got it sitting there. And then I feel like I completely wasted an additional -4. So I think we have to factor that in mind. Manchester City probably even less likely to play in game week 28. And they don't double in 29. Whereas with my 2, Ward and De Gea, got the doubles in 29 already. I don't... Ward for a bench boost, fine, right? I don't need to fuck about with that particularly. It's sure there's every chance I may end up buying David Raya particularly anyway for 27 and stuff. So Edison is of very little use for you. Whereas Ward might have some use for me and De Gea might have some use for me. Also, Pickford doesn't double in 29, and that was the clincher. I think if Everton had had the double in 29, even if it had been the Arsenal fixture had gone in there extra, I would have taken a hit for Pickford this week. But the uncertainty of what's next for me from a chip strategy, when I could even wildcard next week, and I don't think Pickford outscores him enough to make it justifiable this week, then no. They've got to keep a clean sheet tomorrow, basically, haven't they? And I think that's slightly more unlikely than likely. I think the bookmakers would agree with that. Zaris says, will KDB play alternatives? Question. Greetings from Greece, my friend. Lots of time not talking here. Welcome, Zaris, to the show as ever. I did on my Team News stream 2 hours ago my predicted lineups, and I haven't got KDB in it. And since then, I've seen Luke's thread, and he thinks there's every chance that Alvarez will start as well. So we both have similar thinking. So I think there's every chance that Kevin De Bruyne might not start at Bournemouth tomorrow. My thinking on that is I think Bournemouth will revert to a back 5, and if Guardiola thinks that as well, then I think Alvarez plays. That seems to be what we've picked up very recently. That if it's going to be a 5, then there's every chance he'll want to play Alvarez rather than Kevin De Bruyne. And do they need to risk it? Also, under that system, Gundogan will be higher than KDB, so adds to Gundogan for a 1 week punt mainly. But I don't think you're going to buy Man City players this week. You're certainly not going to buy KDB, I don't think. Sell. Look, I'd been planning KDB to Mo Salah if this Liverpool double eventuality happens since Unlimited. So there was no way that I wasn't doing it. If you don't know where you're going, I wouldn't sell him this week. But if KDB to Salah's available to you, I think you do it. Ian Quinn says, after making no changes during the week, is the smallest squad we've seen Pep use. The roulette gets easier if there's less options. Does it? Maybe it does. Injuries would possibly help from roulette, but then who saw Rico Lewis coming, for example, right? It's not like they don't have other good kids in the squad. Dandish says, I have 10 starters with 6 doublers plus Bueno. Should I do Trippier, Shaw plus Ederson to Trent and Ward Pickford? From -8, I have Kepa. See, I think value here is really important and what's coming next, right? Trippier, particularly, has got a great fixture in 27. He's got cover in 28 and he's got double 29. So even if I'd bought him recently, I wouldn't want to sell him. The fact that I bought him at 5.2 is double reason not to want to sell him, because I won't want him back. So I think that reference on what you think you may be doing in upcoming game weeks is really important to consider. Similarly, you might have got a decent chunk of value in Shaw. There's no way I can know. My instinct would be to say sell Shaw potentially, but it sounds like you need to downgrade Ederson to make that happen. I would say effectively though, if you can put in Trent and Pickford, I'd do that. I don't see why you'd add Ward right now. You've got Kepa as well. I mean, that's better than... I'm backing Chelsea for a clean sheet this week. And I'm not backing Pickford for one. I would certainly pick Pickford over Kepa because of the possibility. But that makes it less... I think I'm going to say no, Nandish, to be honest. Kartik Rao says, going to do Shaw, Martial, KDB to Darwin, Salah, Tarkovsky for -4. Still gets me to 9 players. Should I remove Patterson and Botman also for Kilman and a 4.9 million defender for -12? What's the realistic expectation on a Kilman this week? Fulham are what, 6th? We're above Liverpool. What's the expectations? My expectations on Max Kilman this week is what, 3 points? For me, no. Ben Keane says, hi James, just wondering what the best thing to do with De Gea and Ward. I've got no free transfers left and 0.1 in the bank. What I've done, mate, nothing. It would have been De Gea that I probably would have sold. Just because I think Ward playing in 28 would be more likely, and there's a little bit of value side to it as well, but that shouldn't be an issue for me at the moment. The honest answer is, mate, just go with Ward. Just go with Ward and let it be, I think. That's what I've done in any case. Nigel Sam says, hi James, who would you likely buy if you're thinking to run through 28? Shaw to Trent or Tarkovsky? Everyone's fixture in 28. Chelsea's tough. But is that as well? Oh my God, it's a fixture. But again, what do you expect from a Tarkovsky at Chelsea in game of 28? What, 1 point? I mean, is it even worth bothering for? So my decision on it was to go Liverpool, and obviously, look, if Fulham win, which is the most likely thing at the moment, then as I explained this morning, there's every chance I'm going to wild card this coming week in game week 26 and change it all up fairly dramatically. And on that strategy, there's every chance I'd probably end up no Liverpool. And there wouldn't be any Everton as a part of that either, by the way. Florian Meister says, hi James. In any case, Trent is the answer, Nigel. Florian says, hi James, to fund my transfers, I need a midfielder max 6.7 as my 11th starter. Who is your favourite? Might it be worth going early, one of the Brighton mids, and only field 10 this week? Cheers. No, I think there's alternatives you can look at. I mean, Martinelli falls into that bracket. Personally, I wouldn't go for the Wolves Everton midfielders. I think if it was me in that situation, the honest one I would maybe consider right now is Emi Buendia, who will take you through 28 and 29 quite nicely, and keep your options open, and it's a fairly reasonable fixture this week. And if you change your mind and he becomes your cash cow for Brighton or something, and you've got Buendia, Everton away and Palace at home, it might be you decide you want to sell a different player. So I think if it was me, Emi Buendia I think is the one I'd look at. Adam Nalem 95 says, hi James, already done De Bruyne, Salah, thinking of -4 Kane and Nunes. Seeing you've done it, you'd probably agree, but curious to know your thoughts in contrast with Klopp's comments. Thanks. That I'm not that bothered about managers' comments, and I've always known, this is the thing, this is really important, this is what I've already said on the stream. I know that the Liverpool players I get, if Leeds win on Tuesday, the Liverpool players I've gone with are probably staying in my team for weeks on end. So it's not just about this week. It's about more. Now, it could be that for many of you, it's just now and you want to sell it. Okay? And it might be that that's what I end up doing. But I'm going to go for the best options based on a long-term vision and a short-term. And I still think, let's say, predicted 120 minutes for Nunes is still better than I think Kane doesn't score against Chelsea at the weekend. That's my decision process. Kane's also not much use to me, and selling Kane has also allowed me to get Trent as well, right? So that's why, listen, nobody will be happier than me if selling Kane bites me on the arse, trust me. And I didn't particularly want to sell him, and I think that's gone for many people selling Kane this week. It's not a case of when to sell Kane. He's been consistent as hell. He's been absolutely brilliant. He's the third highest scorer in the top 5 European leagues this season. It's only Osimhen and Haaland have got more, right? He's been brilliant this season. But it opens up so many possibilities by taking a player out who we are never going to captain, highly unlikely to play in 28, highly unlikely to double in 29. And got a tough couple of Chelsea and Wolves, I think, are moody fixtures right in front of our face. So that's the reason why I've done it. What's right for me isn't necessarily right for you, as always, play it your way. But I think there's a lot of logic in the move that's been made. Whenever you sell a player, I always say this when people ask about selling Salah's, for example. Salah's in shit form, I need to sell him. You know the risk when you sell a player like that, right? I've also sold De Bruyne this week. De Bruyne could go off at Bournemouth tomorrow, but is he incapable? You know, Haaland's at EO is going to be over 100%. Could he be the highest scoring player this week? Yes. Of course he could. So whenever you go against these players, these big name players, the Haalands, Kanes, De Bruyne, Salahs, irrespective of what their form is, at any moment that you sell, you know they can come and bite you, right? And I'm aware of that. It's probably easier for me knowing I'll still be happy even if he does. Steve says, hi James, not taking a hit this week. What percentage do you think will be? I could gain thousands of places if rotation and blanks work in my favour. Wimped out as too many possibilities to bring in. What percentage do I think? But I'm not sure I understand the question, Steve. But if you're asking about hits, I think the average hit number in top, 10k/100k will probably, I guess, be in probably -6.5 region, I guess. Zaris says, you are an FPL gem. I hope sometime you teach us how to play the game here in Greece by drink Ouzo and eat souvlaki. Well, more than happy, Zaris, to come and join you for souvlaki, because I like me a bit of souvlaki. But if you think I'm drinking that fucking Ouzo shit, yous can think again, mate. Sweet Blues says, I have Rico Lewis and Sam Greenwood as 10th and 11th starter this week. Would you take a hit to move on from either, both of them? 3.7 million in the bank. Already have triple Liverpool and Arsenal. That's a great question. I'm just trying to think what you would do with it. So, I mean, you could go things like Tarkowski, still leaves you the majority of the money to get you up to, say, Watkins, which I think would cover you better off for future game weeks and stuff. That's the sort of thing I'd be... Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at that. I think, -4, something like Tarkowski and Watkins. Yeah, that gives you 2 extra players, 28, which certainly, in any case, Greenwood and Lewis are not. And gives you doublers in 28, 29. So I'd want to leave myself open to those options. And I think that's probably the right solution for you. I'm pretty sure that would just about be affordable, I think. Lacer says, if you had triple captain, would you put it on Saka or Salah this week? Saka. I'm captaining Saka, so if I was triple captain, wouldn't make a difference. Just a note that Mr. Haaland's 34 and 37, considering they fucked up putting the West Ham fixture in 29, which they should have, may look a little bit better now. We're possibly looking at Fulham away and West Ham at home in 34. Now, that might be bench boost week for you. But it probably won't be wild card week. Whereas you're going to get multiple different chips in 29. So, if you're bench boost in 29, I'd keep that in mind maybe. It is worth saying that is during a very congested period for Manchester City if they're still in the Champions League. So you will have the concern about rotation and stuff. But, hopefully they're very much in contention for the league at that stage. Tony McBride says, roll on double blank game week 25. I've never been more set. Good luck, everyone. 18 pointer incoming. I wish you luck, Tony. Nigel Sam says, after Salah, Saka and Odegaard, which is the best 1 week punt midfielder for this week? Jared Bowen. It's my honest answer. It's Jared Bowen. Tom Reynolds says, sorry, I've missed out. Lacer says, a sense check. Shaw, Dallo, Kane to TAA, Tarkovsky and Nunes or Watkins. Yeah, it's fine, mate. Crack on. Tom Reynolds says, hi, James. Thinking of bench boost 29, no wildcard before. To save wildcard and have a strong finish 33 to 38. Might it be worth a slightly weaker bench boost, 2 doublers on bench, in order to have a stronger 11 in wildcard 33, 34? Yeah. There's plenty good theory in that, but we can't answer with certainty how this is going to manipulate for you until obviously the fixtures the cup games are done. Even then, we can't be sure what 34 and 37 will look like. They could literally just flip them on their head, for example. So you have to be conscious of that. I've spoken at length, like on the stream this morning, about Brentford Leicester, and there being no guarantee that fixture would go into 34 if it's postponed from 28, for example. That might be pretty off-putting for a bench boost around that time, although obviously you're considering it in 29. But yeah, there's a case for it. I think what's really nice, it's interesting that I think unfortunately, because this double blank period, week to week, we all end up aiming for the same players, right? All looking for sort of Liverpool, Everton, Wolves now, because most of us have already got Arsenal. We ain't got Arsenal, we add in Arsenal, right? 2 weeks' time, we're going to sit here. It's going to be Brighton, Brentford, 28. So obviously the team's playing 28. 29, so obviously the teams with a double. Then there's probably going to be a Newcastle, Brighton double. It'll be them again, right? Then we move on to the next blank. So week to week, we're all kind of targeting very, very similar players, for example. And yet, because of the additional extra midweek this year, whereas normally we only have 2, and this year we've got 3, and the chaos from earlier in the season, there are so many different ways to play chip strategy. And one of the questions I know someone's going to ask in this stream next Friday is, hey James, what's the best optimal chip strategy now? There isn't going to be one. There's going to be what's best for you, and there's going to be what's best for me. Because there's going to be loads of different ways to play it. And your example, Tom, is exactly one. Harry22 says, hi James, who is your favourite midfielder for a 1 week punt to replace Bruno for under 9 million? I plan to go to Mitoma next week. Also, is it worth taking a hit to remove Cucurella? You already know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say Jared Bowen. Darmin Marola says, hey James, what are your opinions on Salah versus Saka captain? I covered this right at the start, Darmin, but thank you for your question, mate. Sweet Blues says, if you have a benching dilemma this week, you are dead to me. Not necessarily true, my friend. There will be people on free hits. Cherie MC says, nice to see you, James. Good luck all. Enjoy all. Good luck to you too, Cherie. Subliminal Plunker says, is Trippier to Trent worth an extra -4? Got major value tied up. Will most likely want it back on wildcard. I'm going to say no. Because there is an effective value in that value for you further on. Miena Sidom says, hey James, would you do Ward to Pickford or Roll? Also, is it worth taking a -4 to get Saka for Mahrez? Good luck, smash the likes, people. I'm going to say yes to the -4 Saka, because I think he's the best captaincy option this week. So inevitably, I'm going to say that. Ward to Pickford for free, I would have done it. I think I would have done it. Was it worth the -4? If it'd been for free, yeah, I would have gone Pickford. Philip Sukta says, hi James, thanks for the great content. Bench 1 out of Bueno, Aki and Pereira. Best of luck for the game week. There you go, mate. See, we've got the answer. By the way, I have got eyes out for any potential Fulham Wolves team news. My patrons are on the case. You know what to do, patrons. Message me on Slack if we hear anything concrete in the next 20 minutes or so on Fulham Wolves. I know that would be important for particularly Mitrovic owners. My instinct is, by the way, that I think he probably won't start. I have no information on that. It's just my instinct. Bench one out of Bueno, Aki and Pereira. It'd have to be Bueno, I think. Because I haven't actually got expectation on a return for him this week. And there's nothing to say he plays twice in any case. He's got the worst of it. So, it's probably Bueno. Mind you, I'm looking at the benching dilemma. I've got Bueno ahead of Pereira. Nah, fuck it. I'd pick the doubler, wouldn't I? I'd pick the doubler. So, by default, I'd bench very reluctantly Pereira. Alistair Hargreaves says, hello James, Kane out for Darwin, Mahrez out for Salah. What is a bigger priority? Watkins for Mitro Watkins for Mitro or Patterson out? Hang on a minute. Kane out for Darwin, Mahrez out for Salah. What is a bigger priority? Watkins for Mitro or Patterson out? I presume Patterson will be for like Tarkowski or something. I don't know. I think Salah. If you can go to Salah, go to Salah. That's my take. Duge912 says Bueno to Mikalenko from -4. Literally wouldn't have even registered on my radar, mate. Otto Karasin says I have White, Odegaard and Ketcher, Salah and Nunes, which at -4 for White to Van Dijk and Bruno Fernandes to Saka. Top of my mini league and rivals have Saka. Yeah, are you trying to defend or attack, right? Sounds like you want to defend. White to Van Dijk. It's a decent one. Yeah, I think there was one that was asked earlier about flipping it for Nketiah. I'm not convinced. Flipping it for Saka, yeah, I think it's probably still the right thing to do. Ready Can Dance says, hey James, why isn't anyone talking about bench boost game week 29 and saving free hit and wildcard for game week 30 to game week 38? I feel like the only one on it. Have I missed something? What are the cons? Okay, you're not missing anything. You're not missing anything. My plan currently, if Fulham win in the week, is probably free hit 32, wildcard 33. Bench boost 29. That's currently where I'm probably at. So it could be that even for me, it works out at wildcard 34, maybe even. So, yeah. It's absolutely a viable, and I think people will begin to look at that sort of thing a little bit more. Subject to the results, people are going to be able to head towards 29 and 28, I think, by wildcarding in the next 2 weeks, and I think it'll become more popular. So, I mean, obviously, I wouldn't be wildcarding it, I'll be wildcarding now. But I think there's lots of look at wildcarding 30. So if those can manoeuvre, to give you a perfect example, let's say Leeds beat Fulham. Then I can't see me using anything probably till 29 at the earliest. And it's a case of how do I look for 29, either wildcard then or plus even wildcard 30 if it looks like a mess coming out the double. So it's very dependent on the cup results. Very, very dependent. But as said already, there are loads of different ways to skin this. I don't know why I said about wildcarding 33, because to get to that point, I'd be wildcarding this week. I wouldn't need to. So my current thinking, if Fulham win, would be wildcard 26, free hit 32, bench boost 29. That would be the idea at the moment. It's opposite to what you're thinking, but doing it the other way around and doing something like, if you can carry through nice and go free hit 32, wildcard 33, bench boost 34. Yeah, it's fine. Perfect way to play it if that's what suits you best. Russell Baker says, hi James, no free hit. Hacked game week 15. Bruno, Shaw, Patterson, Kane, 2. Salah, Trent, Tarkowski / forward. Should it be Darwin or Watkins for this week in game week 28? Nunes. Yeah, I'd still go it. Chase it. And if it don't look right, you can come back to it. Static says, hope you and the family are well. And to you too, Static. Yes, we're all fine, thank you. Start Bueno or Akanji. Probably, well, that's a little bit different. I think Aki plays. Akanji, 50-50, isn't it? Yikes. That one would probably play Bueno. Matt Martin says, think it's time to dump Mahrez. Pep likes him more in UEFA Champions League. Well, the good news is don't play in the Champions League for another 2.5 weeks. Gopesh says, do I get in Gakpo for Bruno? Already have other double game because I'm just not massively keen on Gakpo. If you knew you was going to wildcard very quickly off this way, I'd say, yeah, cool, crack on. If it's for free, it's difficult for me to advise against it. For a hit, I don't think I'd go there. James Howe says, hi James, best of luck this week. Have 11 players. We're about 90 minutes from deadline, by the way, guys. James Howe says, hi James, best of luck this week. I have 11 players with 6 doublers, one of which is Bueno, taken 1 hit so far. Current defence of White, Trent, Bueno, Trips and Shaw. Would you take another hit for Tarkovsky? God, James, could you have just asked me about a hit for Tarkovsky without having to read all that? No. Owen Walsh says, hi James, of all chips left, are there many opportunities left for triple captain? Cheers, good luck. You've heard me mention 34 maybe for Haaland. Maybe. But again, in all honesty, I think if I hadn't used it, there's every chance I'd use it on Saka right now, to be totally honest. Yeah, I think I would use it now. But at 34, come back round, all those are sitting with it left may end up being there, you know. Ollie Harris says, hey James, hope you and the family are well. What do you think about Kane and Lewis to Darwin? Tarkovsky -4, hesitant to get rid of Harry. I've covered that in quite a bit of detail, my thinking behind that, Ollie, so I'm okay with it. Etnic says, hi James, is it advisable to remove Nketiah in order to get Saka captain? It is the only route I can go, thank you as always. I wouldn't want to get rid of Nketiah this week. I mentioned about not flipping White to Nketiah, but I wouldn't want to get rid of him, I don't think. In the immediate right in front of you, Nketiah could outscore Saka this week. One of the best options this week. But going forward, you're going to rather have Saka there. Probably yes. If for free. David James Whiteway says, don't think Liverpool worth the investment. You won't be alone in thinking that, David, and I think it's perfectly reasonable to think that way. Adam Lewis says, what do you think of triple captain Saka considering his fitness scale? Do you reckon he'll play? What fitness scale? Yeah, it's fine, I should imagine. Justin Woe says, does your Gameweek 26 wildcard depend on you having a free hit for Gameweek 28? No. Now, wildcard 26, I'll run through 27, 28, 29 really nicely with no need for anything. I'd probably be looking at -4 28, -4 29, and that would be to bench boost 29. That's it. Honestly, it would be leaving about 10 million in the bank. I'll show you at the end of next week potentially if Fulham win on Tuesday night, subject to other cup results as well. Andrew Sands is looking good in black, handsome. I'm actually in navy blue. It's just shit lighting in here. Get your glasses on, Andrew. Does Wan-Bissaka, Kulusevski and Haaland to Trent, Bailey and Jota come out swinging at 2.1 million overall rank? Love the content. I mean, you might as well do some different shit there, Andrew. I can't argue that. Bailey, I wouldn't even probably have in my expected Villa team tomorrow. Jota, I think it's unlikely to start both. Nah, so no for me, mate. Birth Media says, hi James, which single game weeker is the one to go for this week? For the third time, Jared Bowen. Neil Kager says, thanks James, just wishing you and the fam all the best. Thanks for the great content. Hit the like button all. Yeah, come on guys, we got about 25% of you in the stream have hit the like button. Come on, doesn't cost anything, just press the button please. Tex Villa says, hi legend, Patterson out, Robertson in, only for this game week. Yeah, fine. Michael H says, hi James, would you recommend Mahrez and Martial to McNeil and Darwin for -8? I've seen a few get McNeil though. I think it can only be thinking, right, set pieces this week and then bench him or get rid of him. But it's all people can be thinking. I can't believe that people think, I'm going to hold him for 28 as well. Thinking that, really? Yeah, fuck it, why not? Jonathan Mahoney says, hi James, Mitrovic to Firmino -4 punt. Not for me. For free, at -4. Again, like with Jota. Plays twice, not enough I don't think. Waldy's Heroes, hi James, -4 Cucurella to Robertson on -8 for White. Robertson. Bronian Bronze says start Bueno or Aki. I'm going to go Aki. Waldy's Heroes, -8 for White to Robertson. Morris Sasaka, I've kind of just answered your previous one, -4 mate, cheers. Issa says Bruno to McNeil -4. No for me. Alex Mika says Akanji Tarkovsky -4. Thing is, if Akanji starts, Tark would have to outscore by 6 at least. Exactly. So a no for me, I think. Waldy's Heroes -4 to shift White to Saka. I'm going to say yes. Christian says Bueno to Robertson -4. Yes. Atava says Rashford out this week will affect my team value. Planning to get him back next week. Thing is, I can't get Salah without this move. Have you considered that maybe you don't need Mo Salah? Just putting it out there. Peter G says, hi James, Sky question. Paulinho to Gabriel or Nketiah for the next 3 games. Already have Saka, Odegaard, Saliba, Zinchenko. Cheers. You should be okay with Nketiah for the next 3. Certainly expect passing tiers for Gabriel in the Everton-Bournemouth games. Might even be all 3 if you're lucky. Tough that. Gabriel. Luke Stevenson says, hi James, hope you're well and good luck this week. Bring in Tarkowski and Darwin or TAA and Watkins. TAA Watkins. The one beauty with TAA is, I know I said you may get stuck with Liverpool. One beauty with TAA is you're literally selling for any other defender in the game, right? TAA and Watkins. James Anderson says, hi James, would you do Felix and Rashford to McNeil and Darwin? Only way to get Darwin other than doing Haaland to him. Thanks. Consider doing Haaland to him. Look now, who are you going to captain next week? If the answer to that question is not Erling Haaland, I'd sell him. Part of my strategy, if I wildcard this week, is going. And yet, if I don't wildcard, I'd probably still captain him next week. But there's definitely alternatives in the Arsenal players against Bournemouth. Look at it now. Honestly, if you were going to captain Saka next week, ask yourself, when are you next captain Haaland? Because it's probably game week 30 at the earliest. And by the way, Rashford has a great alternative fixture at home to Everton that week. Then 31 teams could double again. 32 he could blank. You may not end up captain. 33 he plays Arsenal. You may not end up captain Erling Haaland again till game week 34. That's unlikely, but it's possible. Bin him. Bin him. You ain't going to use him for captaincy. How essential is he? Bin him. Michael Bianchi says, hi James, if I didn't have Kane and needed the money to have got to Salah and Nunes and Trent, what I wanted this week, I would have sold Haaland. Absolutely would have done it. If I'd have been sitting there, I'd just forget Kane out of the game and I needed to sell Haaland to make that happen, I would have sold him. Michael Bianchi says, hi James, got 5.7 million for an Alman replacement. I was thinking of Iwobi or Neves. What do you think? Thanks, mate. Neves the preference out of the 2, mate. George Brad 97 says, what's your reason for captain Saka over Salah, mate? Love all the pods too. Thanks very much, George. I covered this right near the start, so I'm going to skip it, but thank you for the question. If it's that important to you, just skip back to the start and then go back live, mate. And Ninda Das says, hi James, should I start Mudryk or Soufal? Do you think West Ham can keep a clean sheet? Yeah, it's a really good one. How have you landed in that position? That's pretty clever. I don't think Mudryk starts. I think that influences it. So Soufal, and yes, I do. I'm back in West Ham for a clean sheet this week. Doesn't feel right though, doing that. Wedgex says, hi James, I have 10 plus Patterson this week and 1 free transfer. Is Patterson and Morris to Trent and Somerville worth a -4? Don't have money in the bank to just do Patterson out. I mean, Somerville's a good pickup at the moment, 4.2, great value. And there is the possibility that he'll be very interesting in a couple of weeks, particularly if Fulham ironically win on Tuesday, because Leeds will then play Wolves in 28 and the double in 29 is not horrendous. It's almost ideal for a bench boost if you're struggling for value. So yeah, I don't mind a Somerville pick. Probably will leave you committed to 4 in midfield for a significant period. That's all. Just got to be cautious of that. The Woodstock 1, Chris says, hi James, good luck and thank you. Bench dilemma is who to bench, Badiashile or Bueno. I have Edison in goal. I'm worried about Kepa. The likelihood is, in the best case scenario for Badiashile is a 6, really, probably. I'd gamble the doubler, personally. Jan Remy Nielsen says, which one to go for? And then follows it up with the next message. 1, Fernandes and Shaw to Gakpo and Trent. 2, Fernandes and Shaw and Kane to Salah, Tarkowski and Nunes. 3, Fernandes, Shaw and Kane to Salah, Trent, Watkins. To be honest, by the time I got to 3, mate, I'd forgotten what the first 2 were, so I'm just going to say 3. Ben 3 sounds fine, mate. Ben Edinson says, if there was one blank game week you could only play 9 players, what week would you guess would do the least amount of damage to your rank, if that makes sense. This one. This one, probably. Because there's going to be a number of us are playing people like Pereira, Nonso this week, Danny Ward. You know, those are my single game week players with Haaland, right? How much damage a Nonso, Pereira, Ward going to do? If you had the same 8 as me this week and didn't have a goalkeeper, didn't have Pereira, didn't have Nonso, what are you going to do? You take a -8 to get him in? Nope. So I'm going to say this one, mate. Justin Werr says, and catch a captain over Saka. It's a no for me, mate, but as ever, play it your way if you like it. Bede21 says, having 11 to field with 6 double game week, making Kane and Morris for Salah and Nunes 2 free transfers. 2 free transfers, yeah, all day long, mate. Paolo Gatti says, I have 11 players, but Lewis is one of them. Should I take a -4 to get Mings in? No. Got to be a clean sheet for that to be worthwhile. Sets you up better going forward. There is that to it. And I'm just trying to think if you're going to be able to manipulate that for a free transfer at any point. Depends how much other coverage you perhaps have for 28. Could you make that for one free transfer in 28? That said, if you're doing it also at that point to bring in another player that's got a fixture for another player who's blanker, there's a little bit more value in doing it then than doing it now. That would be my take. So probably no. Andrew Sands says, non-FPL James, any thoughts on the pass and the Motti? Very sad. I honestly, watery eyes yesterday. Honestly, for a little while. Because that's, I mean, I think at 1981's cup final was like my mum and dad's favourite games together, right? I wasn't born at the time. And it's Motson commentating on it. So how many times over I've seen that, and it's him. And still Ricky Villa. What a fantastic run. He scored. Amazing goal. Like, how many times have I heard that over in my head? So many iconic commentaries from him. And I think as well, he was very, very likeable. So, yeah, really sad that. A big loss to the football family. Kaden Dalal says, optimal wildcard team. Right, depends when you're doing it. And first thing for me to say is, because you ain't wildcarding now. I don't think. Certainly, I'm going to wildcard 7 minutes to deadline. So don't do it now if that's what you're debating. 26, I mean, the first thing I'd say is, how do you feel about leaving 10 million in the bank? Pranya says, Pranya, little advice around here, mate. You might be no. We don't do capital letters around here. I'll either get to your question or I won't. Sell Shaw or Akanji for Trent. We'll have to play Greenwood. How about sell Shaw for Van Dijk and go Greenwood to Nonto? You've got 6 minutes. No updates on Fulham team, by the way. Patrons, if we've got anything, give us a little tag, please. Pro Evo Stevo says, evening, James. Harry out for me too, as also gives money in the bank for manoeuvring through next few weeks. Good luck, fella. Great work as always. Thank you, mate. Good luck to you too. Wayne Partridge says, Morris to Gakpo -4. Not Kane. Kadeen Dalal, I've seen your question twice. If I see it a third time, you get muted in these parts, mate. Good luck to you. Shub says, already have Tarkovsky, have 10 players. Should I do Shaw to Mikalenko, double up Everton, or Mings or Soufal? Free transfer Mings. If it's a hit, I'd just go 10, I think. Andrew Sands, we're struggling to see the Gakpo appeal, James. Too much emphasis on recency bias and the fact he's OOP recently. Good player potential, but not an FPL asset. That's similar to my thinking at the moment, Andrew, to be honest. Brony and Bronze says, do Mitro, Fernandez, KDB, Shaw to Darwin, McNeil, Salah, Trent to have Bueno on bench, or don't do the Darwin move to keep Mitro and do Fernandez to Gakpo. Jesus, I've lost the will to live. But yeah, just do it all, mate. Ebede says, have 11 to field. I feel like I've done your question already, mate. LH says, all the best, buddy. Have a great weekend. Hope it's green. And to you too, mate. You know what I want this weekend, don't you, mate? 3 points Sunday. Brain Clough says, Paul, Arsenal City, 2-0 predictions. Understood. But West Ham? Why not? Why not? A few people laughed at me when I did West Ham to beat Everton 3-0 a few weeks back. And they won 2-0. And they were 2-0 up at half time. So why not? Forest's away record is dreadful. Dreadful. Barely score away from home. So why not? I think West Ham will change the team up tomorrow. I think they might drop Souček. I think Benrahma and Ings may come into the team. I think Zuma will probably be back and available. That's a huge difference maker for them defensively. So yeah, why not? We're saying West Ham can't beat Forest by a couple of goals on their own patch. Yeah, why not? I mean, it'd be funny if they don't. Gareth James says, evening James, hope you're well. Somehow I've still got Perisic in my team. As a Spurs fan, do you think I need to get rid or just suck it up? Now, I can't lose him this week. Should start this week, mate. Should start him this week, but yeah, you are looking to move on in forthcoming weeks, that's for sure. VL says, hi James, thoughts on Coleman as an option? No, I mean, if you're thinking all the way up to 28, it's too far in advance with. I know Patterson's had a setback, but he's essentially very nearly fit. 3 minutes to deadline, guys. Make sure you're getting yourselves locked in. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like, to my awareness, that there's any available Fulham information as far as I can see. Let me just check that I haven't potentially had any DMs on the Bird app. No, other than one guy who I don't know sending me a message. This is a lesson to you, right? I don't even know who this person is. Someone sent me a message, said, help please. It's a screenshot of the team. I ain't even going to look at the screenshot. Delete. My DMs are open to help people with real life shit. If you don't even know that I'm doing the deadline stream at this time, you don't need help from me. Because you'll be here, won't you? You know I'll be here. And the only reason I ain't here is because I'm going to watch Tottenham. Tottenham ain't playing tonight. Right, who's next? We've got about 2 minutes to deadline. FPL Canada Gaz. What's the server crash deadline with all this all this activity? I wouldn't be surprised if it crashes. Oasis says, would you do -4 Reece James to Trent or Robertson? Preference, I probably wouldn't, because it covers up great for 28-29, so I wouldn't do it. Andy Barty, my Leeds correspondent, says, evening James, have a nice weekend, my friend. You too, pal. Love you loads, mate. What we saying, Andy, to tag in FF Scout _Mark and saying Gameweek 29 COTC, mate. You're on. FPL Punk says, Sky FF question, doing anything for tonight's game? Yeah, Paulinho captain, mate. And then selling him for Thiago on Sunday. Silver, that is, obviously. Oasis Magic says, thinking of wildcard in 27, need a defender for the next 2 only. Who would you pick? Already own TAA. Next 2 only are, if not Liverpool, probably would go Everton in that case. And just take Villa Forest as the 2 fixtures as reasonable. Obviously, if you don't have Arsenal, then Arsenal. Brain Clough says, if West Ham predicted to win as easy as Arsenal, why aren't you on West Ham players? Do they have a double game week like Arsenal, mate? And it's 1 fixture. It's literally. I think you might be a troll. Alan Rollison says, Buendia or Bowen this week only. Bowen! The Atma says, Bueno to Trent or Shaw to Trent. Bueno to Trent or Shaw to Trent. Bueno to... Sure. 1 minute of deadline. Kevin A. Start this player or that player. What a luxury. I know, it's good, isn't it? Renz, hello. Prabish says, if you're on wildcard, which 3 non-playing players you pick for future weeks? Don't tell me on wildcard this week. Also, third Arsenal spots in Zinchenko and Ketcher. The 3 non-playing, Trippier, Rashford, and probably Tony. That would be the 3, I imagine. Daniel Cullerton says, if you had to triple captain, would you have used it this week, mate? If I still had it, yes, I probably would have smashed it on Saka this week, yeah. Ren says, Mitro to Mulpay or anyone under 6.8 for -4 or play with 10. Not the Mulpay guy, by the way. You've redeemed yourself there, Renz. Where's the Mulpay guy? That feels like a great point to say. It's deadline. It's past. We're over. I definitely would not have advised taking a -4 for Mulpay. I think in the answer to your question, for what it's worth, it had to be someone under that value. Arguably would have said Nonto and saved the money for now, actually. Yeah, it's not great, is it? Right, if you just came for the FPL stuff, guys, please smash a like on your way out. Be very much appreciated. Hit the sub button. I wish you green arrows for your week ahead. Suj will be back with me on Monday for the Gameweek review podcast. If anybody's got any non-FPL questions, smash them in the chat. I'll hang around for 10-15 minutes. It'll probably become 20 or 25 minutes, and happy to get them covered for you. If you'd like to support the show, www.patreon.com/Planet FPL, where you can get access to my planner. Yeah, James, but we've got your projections now on FPL.team. Yes, you do. But there is a lot more on my planner than just the projections. For example, my FDR is much different to everybody else's. It's ratings on 1 out of 10. I also have a planner for Sky Sheeting, individual game days, including European fixtures for those who play multiple format games like Telegraph, for example. Got projections including the cup games. I've got upcoming difficulty. My favourite as well, the rolling 4 week, which means you can look ahead at the difficulty from game week 26. It's already there. I can tell you top of my FDR from game week 26 to 29 is Brentford currently. Wondering why that's looking different. Sorry, I just seen something that's a mistake. I'll get it corrected. Also got Gaffer Championship on now, Scottish Fantasy on the planner. There's loads of stuff on there. You can get the planner on our Slack, which you can access from basic tier. £3 a month. I can't buy a coffee in this fucking London city that I live in for less than £3. So if you want to support the show, effectively buy us a coffee. You get access to the Slack channel with over 700 Planet FPL patrons, many of our correspondents in there as well. If you want to support the show, if you want the additional content, the Q&A, Tottenham, the game week preview shows, the quizzes, money in football, all that jazz, intermediate tier for you. And if you want the extra source stuff with chip talk and talking tactics and away days and all that kind of stuff, the unanswered queues, that's advanced tier Patreon for you as well. Support the show, www.patreon.com/Planet FPL. I don't promise to make anybody a better FPL manager. I do generally promise you a better experience, however. Suj, as I said, will be rejoining me Monday. Tuesday, I don't know what we're doing yet. Probably be People's Poll. This week's a little bit complicated because I'm going to Sheffield United on Wednesday. I'm leaving at lunchtime and I'm staying the night, so I won't be back till lunchtime the Thursday. So what I might do is maybe when I get back on Thursday, I might do an Ask James stream Thursday afternoon, which will obviously be reflective of, and I can answer questions. And then I think what we'll do is we'll kind of, on Friday, me and Suj together sit down and we'll decide our chip strategy, reveal what our plans are next Friday. That's general, and that's the free stuff, by the way. The intermediate and advanced tier podcast be Q&A Monday. Money in football will be Sheffield United, as promised, the proposed takeover. Wednesday will probably be Tottenham. Thursday quiz. Friday be our Game Week 26 preview show. The order of those podcasts may change a little bit because I'm going to Sheffield United on Wednesday and I essentially lose a day's worth of work, so I need to do 5 days work in 4 days. That's okay. I'm not complaining. Right, let's get into the non-FPL stuff. Let's see what we've got. I wonder if any Fulham news has come through yet. No, still nothing apparently. LH says, have a good weekend. To Andy Martin, massive win for us this weekend. Good luck to Leeds and Southampton. I guess probably as much as anyone this weekend. Big battle towards the bottom of the tables. 19th against 20th, isn't it? And good luck to Newcastle and Manchester United followers as well in the Carabao Cup final on Sunday. Really looking forward to that. P. Macca says, great stream, James. Thanks. Very, very welcome. Andrew Sands says, favourite football, James. Mitre Multiplex, Adidas Tango question. What a good question. I mean, I wouldn't know the names of most. I'll tell you the worst would be the Jabulani by fucking 100 miles. I quite liked the Nike balls in the sort of the noughties in the Premier League. I quite liked them actually. It's Nike balls now, isn't it? And I'd tell you the one that really grew on me, I wouldn't know the name of it, was the one in the 16-17 season, which was like a purple square and a green square and a blue square, and it was black, but when it moved fast, it just looked white. And that grew on me because Tottenham won a lot of football matches with it. John Bailey says, would you stop Planet FPL if a pro footy team asked you to come on board and be an analyst? If no, what jobs in football would you step away for? Good question. That, like anybody in life, right? Money. If someone offers me a desirable amount of money that's going to make a difference to my family, you have to shake Suj's hand and say, thank you very much. That's it. And he would kick my ass out the door and say good luck. And probably don't come back at the same time. So, look, you never say never, right? But if a pro club approached me to be a football analyst, what can't I give up? What's my drug? What's my drug? It's Tottenham, isn't it? Does a pro analysis want me to work Saturdays and miss Tottenham? That'd have to be some serious amount of money. Now, if it's a sort of job where it's, hey, I don't know, let's just say hypothetically, a Watford, right? It's not a million miles. A Watford said, here, James, here's 100 grand a week. Can you work for us primarily Monday to Friday? And we'll give you flexibility so you can go and watch Tottenham. Yeah, Planet FPL's gone, mate. Of course, I go and do it, don't I? I'd be pretty mad not to. So you could never say never, but I one of the big things that's restricted me through my life is my obsession with my football club. It's in a weird way, it's probably how I've ended up here. Is the always wanting flexibility in my life to make sure I could go and watch Tottenham, because that's from a social aspect perspective. And my life's changed a lot now. I got a little one, but from a social life perspective, everything else can go. I don't need anything else. But that's the drug that I can't let go of. So if someone says to me, here, James, come and be a data analysis. We'll give you 20 grand more than Sfudge's given you, but you need to give up Tottenham as well. No, it's not happening. I can't do it. Andrew Sands says, 3 cheers for YouTube, not cocking up James's deadline stream. Yes, that was good, wasn't it? We've had 1 or 2 issues recently, which I apologise for, but he ran absolutely smoothly today, which is nice. FPL Finding Glory says, important question incoming. You're at Starbucks, it's summer. Do you captain caramel frapper or Java chocolate chip frapper? Triple captain caramel frappuccino, mate. It's got to be the caramel frapper, mate, all day long. I've got an issue with it, I've got to say. Super. I've sat here sometimes recently. If you're wondering, by the way, we should have covered this and we haven't really. You might have noticed me and Suj haven't been in the same room together for a long time. It's because there's massive building work going on in the office space at the moment, which means essentially it's too noisy to record. So that's why a lot of the stuff we've been doing on Zoom, obviously this I normally do here, but all the pods we've been doing on Zoom recently, that's the reason why. Why am I even mentioning it? Oh yeah, that's why I mentioned it. These times I've been sitting here and it's been like 1 o'clock and I've not eaten, I've not done anything, done like 2 pods already, done an edit of something else. I'm fucking starving, can't bother to make anything. And I've ended up getting stuff from Starbucks because what I really want is the caramel frappuccino. Ended up spending 20 quid from Starbucks on stuff that I'm not really that fussed about, just because I really want that caramel frappuccino, basically. Yeah, bad times. That Uber Eats should get fucking deleted, to be honest. Super Tiger says, considering the short turnaround between Chelsea game and Sheffield United, do you think Conte plays a heavily rotated side? Injury risk seems high. Well, it's not just that. It's Wolves 3 days after Sheffield United as well. And you have to factor that admittedly it's 4 days then to AC Milan. But yeah, you have to factor that in. So, I mean, look, with Kane, he can play every game. It's just how he is. There's certain things I would think, like Eric Dyer suspended for the Milan game. So does he probably play all 3 games this coming week? If he can, yeah, probably. Would there be a break in there for Romero somewhere? Yeah, probably Sheffield United. Will Davis and Longley rotate? Yes. Will someone cover a game for Perisic? Yes. Will Pedro Porro probably start at Sheffield United? Yes. Will Pape Sarr get some minutes? He'll almost definitely start at Sheffield United. Yes. Will Richarlison start at Sheffield United? Yes. Could Danjuma and or Lucas start somewhere? Does Sonny play all 3 games? Probably not. So yeah, there'll be some rotation, but the squad in terms of the majority of it is in a bit of a stronger position now than what it was back at the start of January, for example. So yeah, look, I mean, being realistic about it, Sheffield United on Wednesday night, the front 3 should be Danjuma, Richarlison and Lucas. That should be the front 3. And Kane and Sonny should be sitting there if they're needed. That's what it should be. And it should probably be, I think you don't want to overload Skip because he was out for a long time. So probably Højbjerg's probably going to have to play the majority of the games. So probably Sarr and Højbjerg at Sheffield United, which is fine because that would have been my first choice going into the West Ham game anyway. And obviously if you get yourself in a strong position, get Højbjerg off the pitch as quick as you can. Play Porro. One of the things I'd be interested to see Tottenham try, and I wonder if Tottenham might do this against AC Milan actually. Dyer, as I said, is suspended against Milan in the second leg. And communication and physicality without him is problematic. And I wonder if, because he is solid as fuck defensively, I wonder if he might play Emerson at right-sided centre-back against Milan and play Porro at right wing-back and move Romero as the centre, the third. And he'd probably play Ben Davis as part of the leadership group, as part of that back 3. I wonder if he'd consider that. I'd be kind of pro that, actually. I'd like to see that tried. In any case. Just can we get away with it? I think the problem is, from a vocal perspective, Ben Davis would have to play in that back 3 then. And Dyer wouldn't be comfortable necessarily as left-sided centre-back. Could we play Romero left-sided centre-back? We haven't seen it, so no. But I'd like to think he's calm enough on the ball that I don't actually see why not. So I'd like to see that tried, actually, with Emerson at right-sided centre-back. A lot of people say he's not good enough on the ball. What? I'm sorry, what? Like, at the moment, the rest of them are, particularly? I think Emerson's actually, in terms of short stuff, is better on the ball than he's given credit. Do I expect him to be thumping 60-yard diagonals? Romero doesn't do that anyway. So, I mean, that's something I'd like to say. Yeah, there'll be rotation, Sheffield United. For Sunday, I think he'll pick what he thinks is his strongest team. So, I think Son and Perisic will come back in. Addy Tour says, what do you think of the government changes to reforming football? How long you got, Addy? I haven't read all of the article yet, I have to say. Or I say article, it's not an article, is it? The publication on the government's website. It sounds like a train journey back from Sheffield United kind of read, because it might take me the whole journey to read it because it is fucking long. But I think we've got the gist of what it is, and I think largely it's good stuff. I'd say there's a lot of scaremongering amongst the Premier League at the moment because they wanted to run their own gig, and that's why you're getting people like David Sullivan coming out and being quite critical of it. I think Steve Parish been critical of it as well. I think they're concerned that the regulator's going to tell the Premier League what to do. I think it still makes good practice sense to keep the Premier League on side as long as people get their accounts, etc. in order. The regulator's more about our lower leagues and protecting those clubs than actually about the Premier League. Clean governance, etc. You know, we've spoken about City, etc. So we all want that. City won't be the only team that's potentially allegedly done dodgy teams. We're just not quite so aware of the others as yet, I think. So yeah, I think this is largely a good thing. The key thing, I guess, from a football perspective that many of you may be thinking in terms of impact on Premier League is Super League is dead. And I've been saying this for a while. There was speculation about it a couple of weeks ago, and a few people said, you're going to pod on it again. I'm like, sick of this shit. It doesn't exist. The English clubs aren't going to be allowed to break away. It can't. Even if this wasn't in place, the fans ain't going to let them go. The only way the Super League happens now, and I did note some of the terminology used in the report. The only way the Super League happens now, in my opinion, is rather than saying, there's 6 English teams, you probably need 12 to 14. If you've got the majority of the Premier League on board, then the league has a problem. especially if it gets up to 14, right? Because the 14 versus 6 voting right. But how did they do it? And then what kind of a Super League is it? It's just a Premier League with European clubs. It's then the opposite. So the Super League, and again, Barcelona, Madrid, Juventus can live in this fucking dream world. It's going to happen. It's not just the English clubs. Paris Saint-Germain don't want nothing to do with it. And very importantly, the German clubs don't want nothing to do with it. So actually, all you've got left is the Spanish and Italian clubs. And can they get the likes of Ajax, Benfica, Porto and that involved? They ain't a Super League. They crack on. Former dual Spanish-Italian league. But yeah, I suppose from a football perspective, that's for the Premier League, that's the big one. That's dead. Don't worry about it. Super Tiger says, I've read it doesn't, but should the white paper include something about ticket prices? It's an interesting one. I don't know how you cap that with inflation, etc. You'll know my stance is I tend to not moan too much about ticket pricing because whatever it is, fairly often I go. So look, it is in place. The £30 tickets for away fans is very welcomed, and I think that will stay for as long as possible, particularly with rail fares likely to go up again very soon. I think that will probably stick around. But reality is, it's all well and good moaning about the ticket prices, and you can say my ticket price on average at Tottenham's like 70 quid, right? I don't pay it, someone else will. Ground's full. Supply and demand. I was having a look for Money in the Bank tickets the other day, genuinely, right? Major WWE pay-per-view happening in London, right? Take back to my childhood. Know a few of our patrons like, let me have a look. And I managed to get on the site and I could have bought a ticket up in the gods for like 300 quid for 2 nights. Fuck. But them tickets got sold. Someone else bought them. So it's it's extortionate. Yeah, but someone's paid for it. It ain't going to be empty. The place will be full. So supply and demand, isn't it? I don't know how you'd cap it. How would you cap it? And even then, would you cap it and say, I don't know, United can charge more because their ground's bigger, as an example? Like, could Tottenham charge more? Could Tottenham... Chelsea's 40,000 to... I'll just go to round figures here. Tottenham's 60,000. Would Tottenham be allowed to charge half more than Chelsea because they've got an extra 50% on top of Chelsea? I don't know how do you cap it, and where do you cap it? So it's something that could come in, maybe. The clubs rely on it less and less, but that's not always the case, right? So Tottenham decided that the new stadium was going to be their power breach, basically, to try and, in forthcoming years, compete with the other clubs on a financial footing. Tottenham made marginally less than Manchester United in stadium revenue, and that's football events only, last year. So it doesn't include like Lady Gaga and all that other stuff. NFL, they're not included. So on Tottenham's stadium matches, they were effectively one game behind Manchester United in revenue, and we only got to what the group stages of the Europa Conference League, and the top tier weren't even open for those games. So this year, it's going to be really interesting to see what the accounts for this year show next year, now that Tottenham have got Champions League football in it. And obviously depends how Tottenham do on the run. But I think there'll be a lot of... When Tottenham's next stadium results are released, which Tottenham have just released this year, gone now, so it won't be for sort of another 12 months or so, it'll be really interesting to see what people say about it and how much money Tottenham are making on the stadium and stuff. And I think it'll cast some envious eyes. It's interesting. Like that would be really damaging for Tottenham if you think of it that way. It would be really damaging to restrict the ticket pricing. It's the highest price in the league. We obviously expect to watch better football more often than not. God, I ranted there. Sorry. Good question though. Forever QPR3, gin and tonic or whiskey sour? Gin is a loopy stuff. Can I say vodka and tonic? John Simpson says, hi James, thoughts on a fantasy WSL? Yeah, I mean, it needs someone to format, and I imagine it'd be fairly popular. It's the sort of thing I've wondered if we could do, but it's so time consuming. So time consuming. Like I played She Plays at the Euros last summer, and it was awful in terms of navigation of the website. It's really off-putting. So a nice format for that. I mean, it almost feels inevitable. I mean, really, Premier League should be pushing it, shouldn't they? I'd play it if they had a women's one. Yeah, because I'd even if it helped me in my learning, it's part of the reason why I play Gaffer and Fantasy Scotland as well, as part improve my learning. Yeah, I would play it. Kartik says, "Hi James, how do you cope with weekends without football and FPL? Is it a welcome relief?" It's welcome now, really. It feels like holiday. That's not to say I'm upset that there's football on every weekend. No, not at all. But yeah, great. I just, that's straight away, like, what can we do? Like I've said to the missus, there's no lunchtime game tomorrow on the TV. But what are we doing tomorrow? Let's go out. Let's do something. So it's a good thing quite often for me. I miss Tottenham when they don't play, but then when they do play, invariably it just piss me off anyway. Gally Bros says, I triple captain Salah. Thoughts? My thoughts are good luck. And Ninda Das says, good luck, James. Did you take any hits this week? Teams looks good. Yep, -4. I'm skipping the FPL stuff now, but thank you. Also says, when do you think Loris is coming back and is forced to a viable short-term option? Just in short, no. Loris, hopefully 29-30, hopefully. Leo Michelson says, when are Spurs going to win the league? Probably not in my lifetime, mate. I don't know. Who would have thought that Arsenal would have done so well this year, being honest? And we know they had a good young team. That's what it needs. It needs that moment for it to click, like it has for Arteta and Arsenal now, like it did for Pochettino and Tottenham, etc. And you need the other clubs to take their eye off the ball at the same time in the way. I mean, let's be honest, City have dipped this year. We don't spit about it so much just because Liverpool dipped so much more, right? So the timing's worked out from Arsenal from that perspective as well, because if City and Liverpool would maintain their high standards from 2-3 years ago, I mean, Arsenal would be doing extraordinarily well, but still be behind, right? In all likelihood. Although it's worth saying City Liverpool would invariably finish. Didn't they both win like 14 in a row a couple of years ago at the end of the season? It's ridiculous stuff. So look, the team needs a massive rebuild. It's still a huge number of players away. I said last January we were 15 players away from challenging for the league. I think in terms of what we've added since, time will tell if Porro's good enough. Bentancur is obviously a good addition. Kulusevski, I think Richarlison helps the depth for the squad. Probably still 10 short. And we need to get other players off the books. So miles away still, really. Finley says, thoughts on Iheanacho? Underappreciated. Very good finisher. David H says, what are your two favourite sides when getting a Nando's? That would be chips and corn on the cob, mate. Florian says, I have a ton of respect for you for always keeping your cool considering some of the questions. That's probably why, oh man, you lost me. Just do it all through me completely. Thanks. And until soon. Sorry, mate. Good luck. Galley's responding to someone. Okay, fine. What no graphics? Hello, James. Any thoughts on Ainsworth leaving Wickham to be QPR's manager? Wickham here, sad he's gone. Yeah, of course. An incredible job he's done at Wickham. About 10 years or so, roughly. I know he played for QPR before. I think it's a good opportunity for him. I don't think you should resent it. I mean, you've poached the Colchester manager, I think, haven't you? Whose name escapes me. So I think you should go with blessing. Of course, you'd be very sad that your manager of 10 years has gone or so, but I think also like respect his decision. I'm sure you probably do, in fairness. Leo Marcus Jackson says Charlton support, always had a soft spot for Spurs. Lineker, Gascoigne back in the day. Mariah says, cheers James. From memory, how was Ili Dumitrescu at Spurs? I know what his biggest achievement according to Romanian press and was not on the pitch. Let's say on the pitch it was his goals against Argentina in USA 94. Very talented player. Didn't want to go backwards so much, but he had ability. He really did have ability. Leo says, favourite Spurs all-time player, James? It's Ledley King, quite an easy one, mate. Ask me in a few years, I might say Harry Kane. Andrew Sands says, good to see Jed Spence getting plenty of action in France. Seen any highlights or any much feedback, James? Heat map shows he seems to be playing high up the pitch. People raved about his debut, and then I heard a couple of games later he had a bit of a disaster, actually. So, as ever with these things, I prefer to come to my own conclusions. So, mixed messages at the moment. Andrew Sands, that's what I've done. Leo says, for me, Gascoigne and Maba in terms of favourite Spurs players. Construction Pakistan says, does Bueno start? You'll find out in about 4 minutes. Sweet Blues says, what you have against Uzo, by the way, it's lovely. No, I can't be having that, mate. Construction Pakistan says, are you interested in playing Swarry? No, don't try and sell me something. Thomas Coleman says, what do you think the best goal in PL history is? The best goal in PL history is... best goal in PL history. I wanted to come up with a stupid answer like an own goal. Every time I watch that Di Canio goal against Wimbledon, it really bothers me that there's so many empty seats in the background. It really bothers me because I just think that's so unfortunate that the ground wasn't full, and it was primarily because Wimbledon were the away team. It really bothers me because I think that's probably the one. Super Tiger says Carabao Cup prediction. Let me say this: Manchester United if Rashford's fit, Newcastle if he's not. Cyanide says, hi James, can you stick your head out your window and tell me if you can see the Venus and Jupiter conjunction all in line with a crescent moon? I can just do it from here and say no, mate. Bivik says, James, -16, am I around the T circle way too much these days? Good luck. Lemon's got a great shout, yeah, about Fast versus Liverpool. Eddie Yowds is a good one, but unfortunately it was against Arsenal. That was the one that comes to mind. Gemma says, I think you mentioned the Tottenham Champions League final was your top Spurs moment. No, the semi-final, mate. What would be the next in your lifetime, the semi-final, mate? If I remove the semi-final, it's probably near enough to quarter-final against Man City as well. The way them games ended is ridiculous. The Chelsea 08 Cup final, which is 15 years ago today, actually, because we were big underdogs. So probably the 08 League Cup final against Chelsea. And Leo's got the last one. Says best goal. No, I'm not doing that. Right, let's finish it. Cheers, Leo. Right, lots of love. I'm going to go now. Good luck this week, guys. Hope your arrows are green. As always, be nice to each other. Smash a like. Hit the sub button on your way out. Have a great weekend. Me and Serge will be back Monday. Ciao for now, everyone.